Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Coming in, sit on down. I have a bit of an extra new style of live show I want to give a go. And I have no idea how this is going to pan out or what it's going to be like exactly, but it's kind of something I've just been thinking about doing because I get a lot of comments. I mean a lot. And I do read them all, but I just do not have the time to respond to them all. And I thought, why don't I just maybe every week do a recap of maybe some of the week's videos, and one by one I'll just go through the comments on each video and read out to the audience some of the good ones and give a response that way. Maybe this might be a good way to make sure everybody, at least if they gets a chance to have their questions and thoughts heard and answered by myself as best as I possibly can. And I understand a lot of people do make comments not necessarily because they want me to respond, but just because they're thinking out loud, and posting comments is a good way to formulate thoughts for yourself. So I understand the comment section is not always really for me; it's for you people out there to just to get your thoughts onto paper. Which, as you know from one of my recent videos, and from something we will be talking about later, this episode here, that's something that is good for us all to get things down and say it out loud. And yeah, we're going to go through it. So what I just need to do, I just need to prepare a few things. So I had to restart my laptop to make sure everything was in working order before I did this. So I do need to reopen a couple of tabs just to get the comments up. So I'm going to do that quickly, guys. Pour myself a nice drink. And yeah, we're just going to go through them. I don't want to show people's names necessarily. I'm not sure if people are cool with that or not. I'm not exactly asking for permission on that. And they may want to stay private with their comments, I suppose. Even though they did technically post it on a public forum, I'm not looking to single people out exactly. So what I'll do, I won't be revealing the comments as I'm reading them. You'll just have a thumbnail up of the video I am discussing comments from, and I'll just read out the comments that I receive. And we'll take it from there. We'll see how that goes. Okay. 'Cause I can't obviously I have no way to ask permission for everybody to do that. Um, sorry, I'm just on my YouTube dashboard and it's telling me my video cannot be monetized. Turns out the one I did talking about Tucker Carlson and his recent alien talks was ineligible for monetization a day after I released it because some bogus media company put in a copyright claim on it because I used a video that wasn't mine quickly in the background for 30 seconds. And that's how they get you. So you're not allowed to use any form of video of any from anybody else's channel at all ever apparently. Fair use doesn't count, so I had to blur it out, and it seems to have solved that issue and remonetized it instantly. But the message has just come through now on my thing, so I'm gonna get rid of that. That's in my way. And let me just get some of the comments up first. So I'm gonna work relatively backwards, and I think I'll start with one of the videos I've released about the horse running through London covered in and doused in blood, and this is a general live stream where I went on about quite a few things. So I'll get that video up first, and I'll get the I think it was a live show, and I'll get the comments up. And luckily, I can just get the comments up for individual videos, and we'll go through top comments. I think top comments might be a good way of doing this. So let me get this here first. And this is going to be the video we're discussing. So this is a live Q&A session I did a couple of days ago. Um, and I did a bit of a presentation in the start about these odd events that had happened. With a horse running through London, the Big Ben on the same time, the clock tower breaking at 9 o'clock, and then dinging 11 times an hour later when it shouldn't have, and obviously the numeric symbolism behind all of that, representing 911, which is in Roman numerals IXXI, which represents the seal of Saturn mixed within two pillars, which is the Freemasonic pillared logo as well. And the whole thing was just a mess of Freemasonic symbolism and odd, terrifying biblical symbolism as well of the white horse, and the pale horse running through the streets of London. And apocalyptic symbolism all round, and I just gave my musings on it. But I got quite a lot of fun, interesting comments on this, which I thought would be good to read to you guys. So one of the top comments, which I ended up pinning, was from a random user who doesn't even have a name anyway. It's like a bunch of numbers. But he says, "Good show. What about this? TikTok, TikTok clock." And now, I also talked about at the same moment, at the same day Big Ben stopped and rang 11 times, and the horse representing death ran through London. TikTok had been, quote unquote banned in America. And I say banned, but it's not really that, really, is it? It's more of a like a soft takeover attempt by America to force the owners to sell or something like that. And I just thought it was funny, yeah. TikTok, the clock broke, and obviously TikTok at the same time was being banned as well. And it's like, why didn't my response was, why didn't I see that? I thought that was brilliant. Um, yeah, TikTok and obviously the clock's breaking at the same time while TikTok's being sold. Unbelievable. So another comment here is not to being an annoying horse expert, but white horses are officially called grey. It distinguishes horses with dark skin and white hair from albinos, which have pink skin and white hair. So there you go, a bit of horse trivia I didn't know. When trying to break down the symbol of the white horse, I was wondering to myself, like, well, why aren't they describing it as a white horse anywhere in the newspapers? They're all describing it as grey horse, a grey horse. And I figured that was because maybe they're angling towards the pale horse symbolism rather than the white horse symbolism, which would be death, as compared to possibly the Antichrist or Jesus, depending on how you want to interpret the rider on the white horse with a crown and a bow and arrow. But it turns out, no, they only call it a grey horse because of a technicality with horses. So thanks for filling me in on that. So another one said, "Hi Paul, note, the thing about spooked horses was that a block of concrete dropped. Was this perhaps because of a symbolism to Masons or Freemasonry? Dropped by a Mason." So I thought that was interesting symbolism I didn't pick up on as well, because in all the news reports, the horses were spooked by falling debris from builders. Okay, so was that a masonry reference again, which I missed? I thought that was a great comment, so thanks for leaving that one. I really appreciate it. Someone else here posted a comment saying, "Paul, that was one of the most beautiful descriptions of Christ's gospel I've ever heard." And so simple yet so profound. You have a very special gift with your words. I have been listening to your channel for a few months, and I am open to hearing the theory of the little season. However, I am still pretty skeptical. Enjoy your time with your family, and congratulations on your new books. That's a nice comment there, and I appreciate that one. Um, the description I gave of Christ's gospel, I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of forgot what I said there. But I am currently trimming the whole show into segments, and I have not got to that section yet. But thanks for the compliment. I really appreciate that. As for the not being sold in the little season thing, well, look, that's fair enough. I'm not looking to force anybody into believing everything I think about and believe. That's not what I'm after here. I'm not trying to say, it's my way or the highway. Get out of here if you're not going to agree with me. I don't want you on my channel. That's not what I'm all about. And I've never been about. I just really like to speculate about profound ideas and concepts. I enjoy talking for hours and hours and hours about my thoughts surrounding specific topics in conspiracy. It's just I have fun doing it, and at the same time I feel like I learn a lot in the process, and I just want you guys to be along for the ride really while I do that. So yeah, look, I'm not trying to sell you on the little season exactly, but I myself personally, and it's just one of those topics I can't leave to the wayside as just a trivial side project. It seems to me personally like it really does frame the whole conspiracy very well. And it makes sense of a lot of things going on that otherwise we've been clutching at straws trying to figure out, you know. Trying to understand, like, well, why would they do these things? Why would they spray the air? I mean, surely that would damage them too, right? Or like, things like these are horrible random questions. It's like, why is there even an agenda to begin with? Why would they lie? What are they exactly trying to cover up exactly? Like, why would they fake a lot of history? Why would the history books be like, why, what are they, I don't know. All of it just kind of snapped in place. It's like, how are they going to convince people aliens are here and all this sort of stuff? And when you really start speculating around the nuances of the Millennial Kingdom theory and the outside stuff, implications that means, and what the little season would look like exactly, you realize, oh yeah, it would look exactly like what we have right now. And all the agendas at play would be what we see currently. The attempting and prepping to stage a fake alien invasion in the future, um, the playing of good aliens versus bad aliens mythos all throughout the predictive programming and all this type of thing. It's kind of, well, that sounds a lot like trying to convince people to come together as one for a new world order, should we say, and to have drop all the religions and become one religion, drop all the currencies separate and become one currency, have one government, all focusing on one main task, the agenda, the hope of a one government to save humanity from the evil invading outside threat. you know? And it's kind of like, yeah, that would make sense if Jesus has been framed to be just an invading alien who heads up a mothership, who's an intergalactic dictator who wants to destroy the earth. And obviously they won't call him Jesus, they'll call him something else, but it sounds nuts, doesn't it? It really does. But I feel like the programming just lines up so well. If New Jerusalem really is an enormous floating city that descends from heaven, if we've been sufficiently brainwashed, everyone will interpret seeing such a thing as a mothership from outer space here to destroy Earth. You know, and the only way people fall for that is if A, they don't have never read the Bible and therefore have no concept of what it means to have a beloved city, or they don't even know what that means. Like they've never heard such a phrase before. They don't know about New Jerusalem or anything coming from heaven, and they probably don't even understand Jesus or what he did by that point. Because religion is destroyed and dead, and it's a thing of the relic of the past. So by that point, most people wouldn't even have considered it as an option. And you do that by destroying religion and people's faith in it. Um, to get there, well, you would make people believe they're waiting for one thing, and when that thing never comes, i.e., the millennial reign of Christ, the rapture, if you believe in that kind of stuff, or the tribulation event coming and all that sort of stuff, if you're waiting for that forever and it never turns up, then more and more people are just going to keep losing their faith and dropping away until there's nothing left. And then when aliens rock up, no one's going to have any context whatsoever to explain that biblically, and therefore their religion will truly be crushed. So that explains why they would do this. What's the motivation for hiding it all and convincing people that tribulation is about to come when it isn't? Well, there you go. It's to make people lose faith, to make them join together under a new religion, um, which will be Luciferian, by the way. There'll be Luciferianism, modeled under New Age spiritualism of some kind, or with a Gnostic spin, no doubt. But what's the all I'm saying is this millennial kingdom theory really does. You can see how it's useful for Satan to convince us the millennial reign is yet to come, if it's his little season, and if the final war is on the horizon, you know, and Satan will gather an army. How does he do that? How does he gather this army? And this is how he. The only way I can see actually how he would actually be able to do that convincingly. And it says first he would deceive the nations first, as he gathers his army, or to gather his army. So the people who have been gathered to make war with Jesus, well, they are clearly of the deceived nations which he went out to do. So they won't know what they're actually truly fighting against. They won't know they're fighting against the Son of God come down from heaven in New Jerusalem. They don't know that, ready to create a new heaven and earth for us all. Like, they would not comprehend any of that. They would have been deceived. That's the point. And I just can't imagine. I think if people knew it was Jesus, why would they go and attack? Why would they? Like they wouldn't. Satan would have to convince them it's something else first. So that's it really. I mean, and let alone that obviously the scripture is very relevant because the scripture clearly states that Jesus said he was coming back very soon in the people's lifetimes to who he was talking to, not to a distant generation 2,000 years in the future. He was very immediate. He was using apocalyptic language. It was around the corner. Um, and I believe I believe what he said was true. There's no way to get around it. So there you go. So again, I'm not, to the one who wrote that comment. I'm not trying to sell you on it, and if you don't buy it, that's fine. Okay, I would never disparage anybody who um just disagree, just didn't believe what I believe. That's okay. But for me personally, I just can't leave it. So but I get why you're skeptical. I really do. I understand where the skepticism comes from. It's not something you could easily grasp or swallow or want to believe. Even I understand that it took me about 3 years to fully comprehend all of it and to gain a conclusion of, okay, this is probably it then. But even then, what I just said, this is probably it then. I am always open to alternatives. And I've been living the mainstream alternative to this theory for so long that this is an alternative for me right now. But you know what I'm saying. Anyway, more comments here. Someone else said, let's see if we can get a good one. Someone suggested that they think the best Christian source speaking on Bigfoot would be Timothy Alberino. I'd love for you to share the idea of the past millennial kingdom with him as well. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I might reach out to Timothy Alberino, maybe try and get him on the channel. I don't know if he would or not. He's quite big, isn't he? And I'm a relative nobody. But maybe he would like to speak with me. I'm not sure how we. This is the problem. Like, I am the guy who talks about the Nephilim looking like clowns. Okay, and I understand just how outrageous that sounds on the surface. And would somebody like Timothy Alberino, who has dedicated his entire life to researching the Nephilim, would somebody like him risk associating himself with a wild card like me discussing the Nephilim in such a, on the surface, trivial manner? But would he take the time to realize or learn about my work in a way where he understands it's actually very serious and not trivial at all? I wonder. So I'm always hesitant to reach out to big players in the Nephilim game because I'll admit I'm scared they're just going to reject me outright and ridicule me based on my research and think that I'm just some quack, and um I wouldn't want that. The same for people like L.A. Marzulli as well, because these are people who are like professed experts on the subject who have dedicated, decades of their life to it. And to them, I'm just some weirdo with a YouTube channel. So would I be able to convince them to talk to me about these things or allow me to discuss with them my theories on the Nephilim? And never mind try and talk about the Millennial Kingdom past with them. I mean, I have little faith that they would humor the ideas. And hopefully, maybe they would. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I just really struggle to imagine most of these people listening to me talk about that as well as my clown theory. I think they would truly think I was nuts by that point, wouldn't they? And just discredit everything I have to say. And just think, yeah, the guy's just a weirdo. What was Gary Wayne thinking about talking with this guy? Because luckily, Gary Wayne seems receptive to my work, and I appreciate his work, and I've had him on the channel a couple of times. And I've always tried to explain or get in the clown thing with him, and just to gauge his feedback, because I respect the guy's work and his opinion on the matter. Because again, he's just another one of those prominent experts on the topic, and he seems open to the clown stuff. He's got his own take on it all, in his own way. I don't think he's too hung up much on my aesthetical obsession with it all, but he can see how I would get to these conclusions at least, and he's gone along with, God bless him, he's gone along with it better than I thought he would. But it's odd, I get a lot of requests like this where people are saying like, "Oh, you need to share the Millennial Kingdom with these people. You need to ask him his opinion on the Millennial Kingdom." Whenever I get these guests on, who clearly have not really thought about it yet, and it's kind of, is it really my place to drop that bombshell on them during a live show where I've invited them on to share their work? You know what I mean? Is it really my place, and is that really the time for me to say, yeah, 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 but are you aware that everything you've ever researched might possibly be completely off base from your perspective and wrong? Have you ever considered the Millennial Kingdom theory? Like, that would just derail the entire conversation, wouldn't it? And it's not like the subject isn't important. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, I feel like that's a topic I'm supposed to introduce to them privately, not publicly in front of loads of people, to try and put them on the spot. And I kind of accidentally did that with Bo from the Bump podcast, Bo Kennedy. If you listen to my last talk with him on the Truth of Therapy sessions, I dropped this bombshell on him about the Millennial Kingdom theory. He's like, "What's that? I've never heard of it before." And I was like, "Oh, you've not? Well, okay, well, here it is." And I kind of told him everything, and you could see in real time his eyes widening and his mind just exploding, and he was like, "Wait, what?" and as I was saying it, I felt awful, but at the same time, he wanted to know more. I was like, "Are you sure you want me to keep going? Because I think this is shattering everything." But I did. I kept going, and I was like, poor Bo. He wasn't ready for. He did not come onto my podcast expecting to be given this revelation. It was not something he thought he was about to get bombarded with, and he didn't know what to. You could tell he didn't know what to do with it then. But he knew, yeah, this makes sense. This is nuts. Like, this is crazy. I'm gonna have to look into this more. So I am actually going to be on Bo's podcast to discuss the Millennial Kingdom a bit more. I think he's invited me on to do that. We keep rearranging because life just keeps getting in the way, and we've had to cancel a couple of appointments already to do that. So I will be talking to him again about it, but after I've done it to him, I realise I can't do that every time I invite somebody on to my channel. I just can't keep doing that to people, and ambushing them with it. I have faith that as long as I just keep making my work on this, and all the other brilliant channels out there who talk about this topic maintain a steady stream of content, making this idea spread and become more popular as a theory, as an idea, as a concept to speculate about within the truther culture, I think we'll just naturally find that all these podcasters and big names and YouTubers and researchers will come across this concept. Like, this is one of those topics that it's like wildfire. It's just gonna keep going, and until all the chaff is burnt away. Like, it's just gonna keep going. And there's nothing I can do to stop that, and I suppose I can speed it up by throwing more fuel on the thing, as best I can. But I have faith that the truth will come out eventually to everybody. Everyone will know it, whether I make a video about it or not, or ambush somebody with it or not. So yeah, I probably wouldn't discuss with Timothy Alberino the Millennial Kingdom theory when I've invited him on to talk about Bigfoot. I guess is what I'm trying to say to the person who left me that original comment, for obvious reasons, But if people want to ask me about it, then I'll tell them. I think is the best way to do it. So let me just try and find some more comments here. Behold a pale horse. Someone sent me an email about Bigfoot researchers as well. I got quite a lot of stuff about that after that live show, which was great. Someone said if the breakdown of TikTok does happen, hopefully it would be at least be beneficial to the creators who use other platforms to refuse to use that one. Yeah, so it wouldn't be the end of the world if TikTok did get banned. In my personal opinion, there are plenty of other platforms people would just migrate to. Someone said here, okay, oh my god, the stories put out by the news are all different. I live in the USA and I've heard it's 2 horses, 4, 5, and 7. What the hell is going on? I think in the early stages of the event, people didn't know how many horses there were, so people probably jumped the gun a bit, shall we say, and started documenting any old number. Um, Someone else here said, Paul, have you read the astounding stories about Moses in his youth that are in the book of Jasher? He has shining eyes and visible aura as an infant too. His exploits immediately after absconding from Egypt are beyond imagination. I do think those who have been touched by the divine, I think, or touched by God in some way, in a literal heaven mingling with earth type of manner. It's hard to describe that, but someone like Noah, who was perfect in all his generations, was, created by God and planned by it to be in earth to be the progenitor of all of mankind. And his sons were, the fathers of all the future nations, and he was the patriarch of all future nations. I think God had something special in mind for somebody like Noah. So yes, Noah did. And then, by the way, this comment is in response to me describing Noah in the video, because someone asked a question about what did Noah look like, and Noah did have, shining eyes, brilliant white golden hair, and like a ruddy complexion and glowing eyes, And I was trying to explain, like, this isn't a Caucasian or race thing. He didn't have white skin and glowing eyes or anything like that because of his race, or melanin. Anyway, it did have very little to do with melanin. It's because he was created by God for a very specific job, and when God had that much attention and focus on him, I think he did perfect him a little bit more. Did it make him a perfected human because he was still of Adam and Adam was still in sin? But I think he gave Noah maybe a bit of an edge as he was about to be the father of your future generations. So when you say here in the book of Jasher, even Moses, who was, the leader of Israel out of Egypt, and the beginner of all of that, and obviously he wrote most of the the first books of the Bible. People say believe or have soon, and he was one of the most important figures when it comes to the beginning of all of this. So yeah, I imagine he too probably would have had similar properties. He spoke with God, he got commandments from God. Like, you can't come that close to the divine without having some kind of effect on it, on your physicality, I think. So maybe that's why. Just theories there, obviously, but that's an interesting comment about Moses. Though I'll have to reread the book of Jasher and try and figure out what. Yeah, you know, I'll admit I've not read all the book of Jasher in all of its totality, but I have read a lot of passages from it because my work just keeps leading me back there. I think we are already in the midst of tribulation since the ascension of Christ. I also believe that Christ is still ruling and reigning sovereignty as he sits at the right hand of the Father. So from this comment, I mean, I've had to reread this one a couple of times. So you think we're already in the midst of tribulation since the ascension of Christ, and you believe Christ is still ruling and reigning in heaven with God. Okay, I get that. So you're kind of an amillennialist. You believe after the ascension, Jesus sat in heaven in the right hand with God, and his millennial kingdom kind of began as an eternal kingdom then, as he reigns from heaven and does a work on earth. Humanity has perpetually been in a state of tribulation throughout the process of perfecting us in some way, or establishing his kingdom on earth. It requires us to continuously go through a mini judgment every day of some kind. Is that what you're trying to say exactly there? Thing is, as much as that comment, I know you have good intentions to say it, it makes very little sense. And a being in the midst of tribulation for 2,000 years since Christ ascended is not what it says in the Bible. That's not what it says that happens, really, is it? It says he returns and rules with a rod of iron and establishes a kingdom, and then reigns for 1,000 years with those who take part in the first resurrection, which are the saints. Where is that in your story here about? Well, when he ascended, we've just been in tribulation ever since. Is it an eternal tribulation? Is that what you're trying to say? Because that's not what happens. There has to be a new heaven and earth at some point. This isn't it. So it's a tough comment, and again, I feel like when people leave me comments like this, I don't feel like, and no offense, but I don't feel like they fully thought it out before they wrote it. It feels more like, well, I believe this, so that's what I'm just sticking to. I don't care about this Millennial Kingdom stuff. And again, I get a lot of odd comments like this, which I have to put a lot of deep interpretation into to try and understand just what it is they're trying to say exactly. And I try, I try to understand. Someone says the Sierra sounds were recorded by Ron White. The Bigfoot saying, "Want goodwill?" Then the other Bigfoot laughs, haha, because Ron White mocked him back and did not understand he was asking. That is my take after listening to the recording about 100 times or so. Yeah, so the Sierra Sounds is a someone recorded this in a forest, and it seems like it's Bigfoot talking to each other, and it's insane. Honestly, that audio sounds nuts. If you haven't listened to it already yourself, definitely go and check that out. Right, so I'm gonna just skip through some of these comments, see if we can find a good one, and then we'll probably pop onto another episode as well. Someone's asked me, what's your take on RH negatives? I get this quite a lot. I know a lot of people say those without the RH factor are more perfected in a way, or perhaps of the original bloodlines, and the RH factor may be a corrupted factor that gets added or in some way. Um, I, I, I don't hold much faith or value into blood types. Personally, I don't think it matters. I think we all need to be saved, regardless of our blood type. I think blood types are useful to understand for health reasons, because I do understand a lot of different blood types require different things. I do get that too. So that's as much as I really want to talk about RH negative right now. Maybe I'll do a video on it in the future and get someone else on who's perhaps done more work than me on it to share their ideas and everything with me about that. What else have we got? Oh yeah, someone was theorizing that it was actually paint on the horse. I thought that was funny. And they're saying here that blood smells really bad. You know by the smell of it if it was blood. I think it's paint because there's no depth in any area or cut, and it's not dripping to the ground. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if the horse actually was damaged or if it was maybe an oversaturated image made it look redder than it actually was in post editing. I'm not sure. Hmm. All right, guys. Someone's referencing Nicholson 1968 in the comment section for this classic YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen Nicholson's work before, I would recommend going to check it out. He was one of the first YouTube channels I used to watch back in the day in like 2011. He's been in the game for years, really exposing a lot about the transhumanist agenda and the black goo. So if you want to know more about that kind of stuff and all the symbolism that's in the media about black goo and the transhumanist agenda, Nicholson 1968 is great for that, honestly. Go check it out if you haven't. What else have we got here? Big Ben is the owl. Yes, I've seen that one before. It does look like an owl when you look at it from an angle. Um, Someone left a comment here, which again, it's a reasonable question, and it's another one of those questions where it's kind of like, have you really thought about this? You know what I mean? And it's someone said, if they are making it appear as if the rapture was here, then what is next? How will they make a bunch of Christians disappear? And okay, so this comment comes with a lot of assumptions. first of all, and a lot of baggage from doctrine that they've been taught falsely in churches. So the first thing is, well, if they're making it appear as rapture is here, full stop, then what's next? Question mark. And I'm like, okay, so you think tribulation comes with a rapture event. You think Christians are about to just disappear out of nowhere and will not have to suffer through tribulation, right? That's what they think's about to happen. Right. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that's even a thing, personally. And even then, you could argue to the end of the days whether it's post, during, or pre-trib rapture as well. And rapture, this, rapture that is the ultimate talk any Christian seems to care about who's still in that mindset. And it's like, you need to drop the rapture stuff. Okay. But this is the thing. When I say they're faking tribulation, like, this is what it's in response to. They're responding like this because I said, it seems like the media and the controllers are using the media purposefully to make it look like tribulation-like stuff is happening. And I think this commenter thinks that means they're going to fake a rapture too, or something like that. And he's like, well, how are they going to do that? How are they going to make a bunch of Christians disappear? They can't possibly be faking tribulation because they couldn't fake something like that. And my response was, they won't. And millions upon millions or even billions of Christians will lose their faith. They're not going to fake a rapture. That's not going to happen. They don't want you to actually, what they want to do is make you think tribulation's about to come and then take it all away from you by making something completely left field happen instead. And all those who were waiting for the rapture, and when it doesn't come, they're going to be like, I believed a lie. And they're going to think Jesus wasn't real and his promises were fake and all that kind of stuff. And I believed I was going to get saved from all the pain and misery, but here I am living through it. Where was the rapture? All this type of stuff, and people will lose their faith. And that's the real game here. They're not going to fake a rapture. Like you said, how would they even do something like that? Realistically, they can't, because they don't have to. They just need to make you believe it's coming to get your hopes up, to then just let you down. That's all they have to do. And I believe all the movies and films that have been created that have kind of garnered and fostered this idea that people are gonna get raptured is all a part of it. And they've been working towards getting people to wait for something that they know is never going to happen, and they do that on purpose to make you lose your faith when the thing doesn't happen, and when the thing from out of this world appears instead, which contradicts biblical scripture and tribulation. They're trying to make tribulation look like it was just a lie. But if it's already happened, and it all happened by the script, by the way, to a T, a millennia ago, and the 1,000-year reign has already happened too, and then you have no need to lose your faith, because everything you're seeing happening is exactly what would happen during a little season run by Satan. And yes, that means there's no rapture. Okay, that's not coming. That's not going to happen. That's what it means if we're in the little season. Something else is going to happen. Satan's going to gather an army and go and make war with Christ. And the people, the nations will be deceived to make this happen. So our job as Christians during this time is not only to try and make people realize that, okay, you may be being lied to about where and when we are. You need to consider these things. But it's also, all we can literally do is spread the good news that the gospel is still the gospel. Believe in Jesus and you'll be saved. Believe in what he did, that he rose from the dead, that he is the Son of God. And get yourself covered in the blood of the Lamb. And when it comes to the great white throne judgment at the end of time, you will be covered by what he did for you. He died for your sins, so God can look upon you and not see the filthy sinner, wretched sinner that you are, but instead he'll see his son. And his son is spotless and blameless and perfect, and did everything right, and defeated death because of that, and could not die because of that. And yeah, that's it. That's it. You're covered. You're saved. And that never changed. Whether you're in post-season, millennial season, little season, after, before, tribulation, whenever you are in the timeline, it doesn't matter. The gospel never changed. And don't let anyone try and take that away from you. Don't let anyone try and tell you otherwise, and don't tell yourself otherwise. If your hopes were in the millennial kingdom and getting to reign with Christ, and your faith was in the wrong place, unfortunately. I know people don't like hearing me say that sometimes. I'm not saying you're a bad person because of it. Okay, I'm not saying you don't sincerely love Christ. But what I'm saying is you shouldn't love Christ on the condition that you get to live for 1,000 years as a God King with him. You should keep your eyes on the eternal kingdom that comes after all of that. You should stop equating the two as the same thing. Okay, when Jesus returns, or when Jesus returned, he returned to establish 1,000-year reign. Okay, that 1,000-year reign ends. You've got to realize that it ends, and Satan's released for a short season to deceive all the nations, gather an army, and go make war with him. Okay, so that means he's probably still on Earth somewhere with his kingdom. Okay, we just don't know where it is. It's hidden from us. And Satan's around right now trying to get us all to go and fight him, basically. And only then, after all of that comes to pass, is there then a new heaven and earth. But even then, there has to be a war first. There has to be fire coming down from heaven first. And then there has to be a new heaven and earth after judgment. Okay, but a lot of people think that's people who are still in the mindset that tribulation is about to come to pass and Jesus is about to return. They are adamant that means the new heaven and earth comes with Jesus in that one moment at the same time. But that's not what the book says happens. It doesn't say that happens when you actually read it. They're two different things. There's the millennial kingdom and there's the new heaven and earth. They are separated by at least 1,000 years, at least. And we don't know how long a short season is, but add that on to 1,000 years as well. You could be as far as 1,250 years after Christ's millennial reign began, or it could be, I don't know, 2,000. Maybe Satan gets it 1,000 years too, for all we know. We don't know. It's as long as it takes, I suppose. But they're not the same thing. They don't happen at the same time. You have to realize that that's what it says happens in Revelation. And if you don't know that that's what it says, you need to ask yourself sincerely, why didn't I know that? Who didn't tell me this? Okay. Unfortunately, there are agendas out there. There are people out there with agendas to make sure that this type of interpretation isn't talked about. So, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist about it, but it does seem like that's the case. So yeah, I've come to the end of the comments in this one. I've scrolled through it. I've not seen anything particularly that stands out more on this one. Someone did say, you believe it's all planned? That's just crazy as hell. So there's always one who wants to say, yeah, you're all just nuts. Like, this guy's nuts talking about these type of things. I don't know how these people find my videos, because they must be looking for it, right? And why would you come up and say, yeah, this is all stupid, you're all idiots for believing these things, I'm out, bye. It's like, where did you even come from? Why was this video even recommended to you, is what I wonder. But there you go, guys. That's one video reviewed. I think I'll do the clown one next, my recent clown video, because this one's doing quite well. Episode number 44 of the Nephilim Look Like Clowns. So that's this one. This one has been doing quite well. I think it's on about 7,000 views. The Nephilim Clown episodes do tend to take off because people share them far and wide, and they always end up on random platforms like TikTok or Instagram as well. And then the traffic just keeps flowing with these videos because people really, really gel with the clown topic. I think it is something that really resonates with a lot of people in many ways. And I'm happy for that. And I think the clown is a useful tool to get the gospel to people as well. And it's not something I'll ever scoff at or pass up the opportunity to do. But the comments on this are always a mixed bag. They're very interesting because I get a lot of people who How do I describe this? They have attached a lot of significant weight to the symbol of a clown, which they've in a way kind of turned into an idol. And because I am talking about people's cultures at the end of the day, some people can get offended about that. But what I tend to find is it's not actually members of the particular culture who are angry at me for talking about the culture. And this is, I know this sounds bad, and trust, I'm not trying to make this sound what it sounds like, but it's mainly self-righteous white people who are defending their culture on their behalf. And I'm not even lying, that's literally what it's like. And it's kind of like these people are obsessed with that culture to the point where they're trying to accuse me of being evil for even suggesting that the things they believe might be of a questionable nature, you know. And if it's not that, then it's the new age Gnostic hippie types who are all about the clown archetype, who have seen them a few times on DMT, who think they're actually good things, and then want to tell me I'm just a naive, stupid Christian who doesn't understand anything. Um, so it's a mixed bag, but most people are quite responsive. So I'll go through some of the comments on this, and I'll let you know, and I'll respond to some of these as well. So I get some great comments on these ones, to be honest. I'll just go through the top comments so far. So someone said, "Oh, for over 2 decades, my buddy has said that Ronald McDonald is made up to look like a cannibal. Well, I'll be damned." So he's in my video. He's like, "Well, what do you know? Clowns are cannibalistic monsters. I didn't realize this." Well, they're certainly caricatured representations of the Nephilim, yes. Um, Someone else responded, "I've never trusted people who smile too much, joke too much, or wear makeup." What do you think those burgers really are? Someone else said. Um, so this is a good one. I actually got a message, and this is what they said. And they said, "As an American Indian, thank you for posting this. It's eye-opening." So there you go. I've got it from the someone a member of the culture themselves saying this is actually really interesting. Because I make these videos, and I'm not at all trying to put down people's like personalities and cultures and lives. I genuinely don't think most people who are members of cultures who practice these things, they don't really know why they do them. It's just tradition. Okay. And they don't know that the Nephilim are related to these practices. They don't get that. Like, and they call them other things and have been told stories about them in other ways. So when I come along and give them this kind of context and explain why it may be this, that, where this imagery comes from, they're usually not that offended, and they're actually like, "Oh, that makes sense. I never realized that before. No one's ever told me." you know, and that's quite a common response actually. It's like I said, it's the people who aren't even parts of the culture who get angry for some reason on their behalf, but members of the culture are actually interested that somebody's managed to talk about their culture in a way that actually sounds like they know a thing or two about it. And in this video, I have been very respectful about the Native American cultures that practice these things, because I don't think Native Americans are bad people, and they have very good parts of their culture. You know what I mean? That venerate good things, and it's not they're not all just evil pagans, if you want to put it that way, who are out to uh, worship demons. That's not how they see it, and that's not at all what's really going on. What it is that they have these practices, and it's kind of like the Nephilim have echoed through the centuries into the dress styles, and usually things like this, every culture in some way has been impacted by them. Every culture on every continent has their own representation of the Nephilim through costumes like this. We have our own versions, even in Europe, and in Africa, and on every continent, all throughout Asia, all throughout the Hindu, Indic regions, the Oceanic regions, the archipelagos in Australia, North and South America, all of them, even Greenland, like all everyone's been affected by the Nephilim, and therefore our cultures all have stuff like this in it, where you can see echoes and remnants of their influence on humanity echoing down throughout history. And this is just the Native Americans' version of the influence of these demonic spiritual entities have had on cultures. So when I'm pointing that out, I'm not like saying therefore all Indians bad, all Native Americans bad. Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, all of our cultures have been impacted by this, and when you see these features, you need to realize its origin. It's a representation of a specific type of entity that was around in the ancient past. And again, even they find it interesting. So I appreciate that an actual Native American did actually um, say thank you, and it's eye opening, and that's good to know that I'm reaching even the people this is about. Um, what else have we got here? Beetlejuice comes to mind at the beginning of the video. Yes, so the costume worn by this is very similar to the black and white pinstripe suit of Beetlejuice. And Beetlejuice does have white, pale skin, panda eyes, and wild green hair. He is a clown, essentially, isn't he? And he's often represented as a giant on that little tiny model of a village that they have in that movie. So yeah, Beetlejuice is a great example of the media knowing the truth and trying to represent it in a fictional setting. Sorry, I was having a quick drink there. Someone said, "This man puts my clown fears to shame." I used to think I was terrified of clowns, but after watching this, I'm pretty sure that I just have a healthy respect for them. Yeah, the chorophobia is such an interesting fear. It's kind of why are people scared of clowns of all things? It just seems like an odd fear on the surface, doesn't it? And there's the uncanny valley situation where it's almost human but not quite. And I think there is something to be said for that. That just does put people off, quite naturally. But I think I do think it's something rooted far deeper into us. Like if these things were eating us and they were our predator and we were its prey, I just feel like that would leave a mark on our genetic history, and that would get passed down from generation to generation to have a healthy respect, as this guy puts it, or a healthy level of repulsion or fear to the way these things, anything that looks like this, as like a defense mechanism to stay away and run as fast as you can. And that's kind of getting echoed into the present, where we now have to have these odd fears, and it's like, where do these come from? Well, maybe it's more ancient than we understand. Someone responded to this guy's comment saying, "Why do you think children are seemingly naturally frightened of clowns?" And yeah, you find more often than not, even so, studies have been done. It's like 9 out of 10 kids are terrified of clowns, and the one kid that isn't is just an outlying weirdo freak who probably should. So the norm is that children don't like clowns. So why were they always pushed on children as well? That's something we have to ask ourselves too. Then some troll joined in and was like, "People are afraid of anything that's different from them, so your point is mute." It's like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, people are just afraid because it's different. Like, there are plenty of things that are different from people that they're not scared of. You know what I mean? Like, a clown is a very specific thing. Um, Not all are afraid, some are inquisitive first. Those who are afraid are more than likely evil as well. Beware, be wise, but not afraid. Oh, and it's moot, not mute. Unless you actually meant not to speak. Yeah, so I don't know. The comment, because some of the conversations I see going on in these comments sometimes are hilarious. I'm not going to lie. Um, Someone said, "I don't know if you've discussed vampires or not lately, but I've noticed even Hollywood or indie movies are making the vamps appear clownish in appearance. And they no longer just have plain old fangs, they have a mouthful of sharp razor blade teeth. I read a few things a dreadfully long time ago about vampires in Jewish history because, well, my curiosity got me, and I wanted to know why one of the vamp movies I watched had Lilith as a vampire. And lo and behold, ancient Jewish tradition, maybe from the Kabbalah, I can't remember, mentioned where the vamps came from. Anyway, I wish I could hit on your live show, so I don't mind coming in late. Peace out. Thanks for your work and time." That's from yeah. Okay, so yeah, this if this person does want to come on a live show and talk with me sometime, I do have call-in sessions sometimes. So keep your eye out for those. And if the timing's right, let me know in the comments that you want to hop on, and I'll try and get you on. But yeah, I've not watched many movies lately, but I'm assuming the clown aesthetic is going to become more and more popular when representing the demonic. Mainly because they're getting quite brazen with it now. I think they want to push the symbol of a clown on society harder and harder because they want more and more people to emulate it. And I think as the world becomes more and more godless, we find the rise of the clown or the Nephilim, it does seem to be coinciding with that, and more people seem to be dressing that way. Um, Seemingly by their own choice and volition, but you have to wonder what the spirit within them is making them choose to wear as well sometimes. But what do I know? That's just a theory, isn't it? What else have we got here? Apotropaic is the word of the day. It means protective magic. Thanks, Paul. Keep on expanding my vocabulary. Yeah, as it took me apotropaic. It's an interesting word, isn't it? It's one of those words that I've discovered along my own research. Where I'm like, that's a cool word. I'm going to use that more often. To ward away evil spirits by dressing like something is to be apotropaic with your actions. Um, I still believe it's naive to be to think that dressing like a demon scares away a demon. Though I will say that I don't think there's any validity to it whatsoever. Personally, I do believe the demons or the Nephilim who have influenced particular cultures and regions into that belief have done it on purpose. I think it's a trick. I think they would like the people they are abusing to believe that they're actually keeping themselves safe. Do you know what I mean? So it's possible a display may have been put on once where a demon pretended to be spooked or scared away or to be exorcised by somebody dressing like a demon. But he was just acting. He wasn't really scared or exercised, so he's not really gone anywhere. He's just convinced this group of people that they had some power and they've learned some power that way. Oh, if I dress like the demon, it confuses them and it keeps them away from our rituals and and I think the demon would be happy for people to believe that that's happening because it means they now think that the demon has gone, but he's still there. So now he can just keep hiding and never people don't realize he's even there anymore. You know? I think that's how it works. So I think apotropaic thinking is naive at best. Most places around the world, most cultures, they dress like things to channel things, not to scare them away. So they can't both be right. Okay, only one of them actually has to. They're not. These are mutually exclusive ideas. Okay, so they don't come together as a package. You can't be dressing like a demon to scare them away one day, and the next day decide to dress like them to channel them. It's one or the other. So I'm thinking dressing like something really does only serve the purpose of creating a stronger channel to the entities that look that way in the spirit realm. I really do think it's that, and some people do get upset, especially from other cultures, when they hear me say that. But it's this conclusion came from research and common sense too. But mainly research that the most common pattern is to channel. And I think a lot of culture. I mean, how would you? I get it. No one would like to hear that. For years, they think they've been helping people and scaring away demons, when really all they've been doing is just creating more and more demonic attack in that specific area and strengthening the demons, rather than helping them. I mean, you wouldn't want to hear that, would you? Like, I don't think so, but much is the tricky nature of the demonic realm and the characters that dwell there. So someone here gave a DMT reference. They say, sometimes I believe these entities are exactly what people say they sometimes interact with while doing psychedelics, DMT in particular, and are referred to as the intergalactic dimensional jesters and or machine elves, etc. Many are familiar with the Faustian bargain story. Well, people often wonder how exactly the infamous royal families or the elite got their start way back in medieval times, and even prior to that. Well, selling your soul is often talked about in regards to modern elitists, which makes me think maybe the court jester that kings and queens would constantly have around at their side, whom were only individuals who could make fun of the royals publicly in front of others with zero repercussions, were actually the ones in charge of things. Of course, if you are someone who was real, who has real ultimate control and power over people, it would be preferred to rule from the shadows anyway, no? No wonder they were always standing by their side, the way there is always a scapegoat that people will place in their blame. So yeah, there's this guy goes to say basically, was the court jester really a Nephilim spirit who was really in charge, who was giving the king the power? It's quite interesting to consider that, isn't it? It says, in terms of the medieval angle of my theory, metaphorically, the jester's overall character reminds me of the butler guy, Stephen, the real villain from Django. He walked around with a cane and pretended to be a homebody, nice guy, upper class man, best friend, and servant to the plantation owner, whom all his co-workers loved, when in reality he was the toughest dude in the plantation and was friends with everyone just to snitch and manipulate people's decisions for his own betterment. The whole crippled goofball nice guy act was to influence people to get their guard down whilst around him, but he was actually more brutal and theoretically powerful than any villain in that movie. I find the whole jester clown topic quite historically interesting. I've always been massively creeped out by them, no joke. The old cloyne folklore is interesting as well. Anyway, just shared some rando ideas. Haha. So that's a good comment. I like those type of comments. There's a lot to get into there. A lot of well thought out processes and ideas. Yes, the jester is a fascinating one in terms of that he was had the ear of the king at most times and became a confidant and a advisor in some cases too. So and often in that sense, the jester had a lot of power over the kingdom too. Did they have all the power? Who knows? I mean, I don't necessarily think jesters themselves, they're a complicated breed because they're not dressing like the Nephilim. Dressing like a jester is not dressing like a Nephilim exactly. Um, Maybe more so jester costumes today represent more of a clownish theme than they did in the past. But in the past, the jester was dressed like the king. It was a mockery of the king. It's nothing else. Um, but then again, the kings and queens of this earth are said to gain the royal right to rule by the blood right, and they often think that they are the descendants of angels in the end. At the end of the day, they have the Nephilim blood in them, so there must be some connection there, and why jesters were involved with all of this, if that's the case. And it's a good theory, and it's only one of those things you can speculate about because historically speaking, there's no evidence to say that jesters were in control of much. But you say we should trust the historical record these days. Who knows? But thanks for sharing that one. I really appreciate it. Someone said thank you very much for introducing me and my girlfriend to these ideas. Well, you're welcome there. Now that I know this, I see it everywhere, someone said. I may get hate for pointing out the sometimes clownish features of women or men that have had plastic surgery. The disproportionate ballooning of organic human form plastered in poison paints called makeup. Yeah, that's right. It's funny too because I was walking around a big shopping centre doing a bit of shopping with my wife, and I noticed I walked. When you walk around a corner and someone else was coming around at the same time, you kind of have to stop for a second to get out of each other's way. And it was some woman who had these enormous red puffed up lips. She had clearly just had the Botox poison pumped in there or whatever it was, the filler stuff. And they look so terrifying. And I couldn't help but think like, wow, there's a Nephilim clown for you. It was awful. It was like, what have you done to yourself? And I was just, you're supposed to try and be polite and you want to look him in the eyes, but I couldn't help but stare. I was really rude. I just stared. I was like, and I probably looked disgusted as well. It's funny, but you're right. What are people doing to themselves? And it does feel like it. This is an example of the spirit within people attempting to make the vessel look more like them. You know, because it's confusing how these demons work. I'm trying to figure it out because it's one thing for an individual to choose to dress like a clown in order to purposefully get in touch with spirits. Okay, that's one thing, and allow them into their bodies to channel them. But then what's to be said for people who have demons and don't realize it, who never did that to get the demon in them? They opened up the portal through another means, whether it be trauma or sin or something. Would it make sense that if a demon's inside of somebody for long enough, would that person start changing the way they look, thinking they're making their own decisions, to do that? But what they're really doing is the demon inside of them is influencing them to make choices that end up changing the way they look to look more like the demon within them. Because don't forget, demons want bodies. Okay, and if they've dwelt in your body for long enough and are using your senses for long enough, they might feel a bit at home and be like, okay, well, it's time to redecorate. And you're the home they're redecorating to reflect them more so. And the more they can make you look like them, the stronger their connection to their control over you becomes too. Just by the virtue of channeling and how it works, and how dressing like something or taking on the form or looks of something creates a connection to it in the spirit realm. So we have to be careful. But yes, the things women do to themselves today to maintain some kind of pride or vanity is quite sad, I'll admit. I mean, it's not exactly tasteful, is it, when you see these huge balloon lipped women? It's so odd, such an odd look. I don't get it. Um, so someone said here, the shamans endured great trauma which opened them up to spirits. Quote. So that was me they were quoting. At the end of my videos, I was talking about different cultures and shamanism and how the story always goes that they can see spirits because they have been traumatized at some point. And they're saying it reminds them of Project MK Ultra, using abuse or hypnosis as some kind of imbibing spirits and other personalities or programming into people. And yeah, that aspect of it all is fascinating for sure. But it's not something I can probably talk about too much on YouTube before it becomes a bit dodgy. But yes, it's certainly the same practice used by satanic elite families, even on themselves and their own children. I think they break them and traumatize them at an early age to make them more powerful channels and spiritual people in touch with the spirit realm. It's a tool more than anything, and trauma is the most powerful way to make somebody capable of communicating with spirits. It seems to be a surefire method, as is most things that are satanic, unfortunately. Someone's mentioning the Sandown Clown. I will do a video on the Sandown Clown soon. If you guys don't know what that's about, it's a trippy story about two kids in England. I think it was the Isle of Man. I think it was. Yeah, who came across in the 60s or the 70s this little shack, and inside this shack was an odd creature that looked like a man, but it was kind of like a clown in some way, with odd features on its face, like shapes and stuff, and antennae, and it communicated through a speaker and a microphone it had attached to its hip. And these two kids swear down they encountered this thing, but when they brought adults to come and look at it, it had all vanished mysteriously. So people have theorized it was an intergalactic, interdimensional alien of some kind, but it may have been a Nephilim trying to attempt to be a human again in some weird spiritual, quasi spiritual way. But I'll do a show about that sometime for sure. Um, Thank you. I enjoyed this very much. I learned a lot more than I thought I would. The universe is a game of mirrors, external mirrors and internal mirrors. Heyoka's role, in part, is to use external mirrors to trick or lure his subject into the realm of internal mirrors for deep learning, liberation from dark spirits, or simple self discovery. No, no one sane would choose the role of a Heyoka. And if you are not born in a context in which it is recognized as being of a state of being, it is something about yourself you may only discover once you are moved to do so by the precursory wounds of self exploration. If you are not Native American, discovery of it always comes after, and the evidence is in the narrative of the journey. This is important. All cultures have the fool. How they value the role is all you need to know to assess that culture's spiritual and therefore mental health. So yeah, this guy who posted this quite literally has Heyoka in his name. So I think this person may consider himself perhaps a Heyoka spirit channeler of some kind. Um, uh, these type of comments do have a lot of woo in them, and they've kind of hyper spiritualized the situation. I think I'm not like this when I communicate. I'm very much a straight down the line, straight to the facts. XYZ person in my descriptions, as you'll know me if you've listened to long enough. So this idea that what is it saying here? The universe is a game of mirrors. Like, what does that even mean? External mirrors and internal mirrors. Everything's a reflection. Okay. Um, the Heyoku uses external mirrors to trick and lure his subject into the realm of internal mirrors. Like, I get it. Okay, so you're holding up a mirror to the subject to get them to be a bit more retrospective about their actions and to learn from their mistakes. I get it. Okay, but it's just whenever you try and describe these things, you end up. It just sounds pretentious. It sounds like you're trying to sound like a wise guru of some kind. It's like, you know, I bet your name's Keith or something. You live in like Shropshire. Like, just shut up. That's usually what it comes down to. Like, it's people have idolized these cultures and their symbols to the point where they have become proud about their understanding about such things, and they then appropriate the culture in a sense and act like they're a part of it or something special. And it's kind of, I just I just can't help but feel like it's kind of a self deception in some way, but it's rooted in like a desire to want to be special. I can't really, I don't know. I don't know why I'm trying to justify it. I mean, this person means well with a comment, I understand, but at the same time, I just have such little patience for New Age sentimentality. Um, you should do a series just on modern women's makeup. Oof, that would offend a lot of people, wouldn't it? Nice work, my unknown friend. Thank you. That's a nice one too. Corpse paint in black metal music, which has inspired the Kiss band face paint. Yes, that's true. A lot of musicians use this face paint for the same purpose of channeling to gain power. Um, so yeah, most overall, it's the pretty positive comments on this one. Most people seem to react quite well to the work on the clowns. I do get the odd person. Someone said my mother is a clown, so you do get the odd comment like that coming through. Um, and then someone came along and said, "Damn, I was hoping for a more neo-Gnostic take. This feels like fundy spirit warfare garbage. That's fundamental Christian spiritual warfare stuff." Yeah, sure, clown spirits are bad, but most are amazing, loving spirits. Sorry, you wanted more of a neo-Gnostic take, but instead you got Christianity, is what you're saying. Fundamental Christianity. And it's kind of like these people, honestly. So I just responded, sorry to disappoint you, but those are demons and not your friend. That's all I could say in response. And then their response back to me is something like, maybe work on creating a proper functioning system instead of relying on broken cogs. I have to laugh at the irony of someone making the claim to an academic mystic. What the hell is an academic mystic? And what do you mean by work on creating proper functioning systems instead of relying on broken cogs? I mean, do you hear yourself? Do you honestly hear yourself? What is an academic mystic who has spent the past 30 years studying the depths of the cultural historic roots and the evolution of human philosophy and theology that they are 100% wrong. Like, what? Like, these people who make this claim to, like, well, I've been studying something for over 30 years, therefore I'm right. It's kind of really, I don't know. And what, first of all, what is an academic mystic? That doesn't sound real. And I don't even like respect people who make claims to authority based on their indoctrination through the academic system. I have zero respect for those type of claims to authority. And for what I found, those type of people who got their degree or wrote their thesis and got their doctorate in a specific field, therefore only they're allowed to have an opinion on it, therefore I find those people are the worst, most stuck-up snobs I've ever met in my entire life, and they're usually wrong. Okay, more often than not, because they have a vested interest in a particular topic or theory that they're not willing to let go of due to monetary reasons. And it's kind of, they always try and put other people down who attempt to talk about subjects as though that no one else can, and I just don't like that attitude. And this guy is oozing something similar. It says here, you and I may not truly know anything, but at least I admit and submit to the infinite possibilities. It's kind of like, what are you talking about? When did I say I know it all? But you submit to the infinite possibilities. No disappointment found from your comment. I know fundies, as he calls us, fundamentalists, show their love differently than most people do. Anyway, sending good vibes to Sophia for the process of your continual spiritual journey. Oh, I just want to be sick. This guy's that. Oh, luckily, this guy's sending some good vibes to Sophia for me, for the process of my continual spiritual journey. And it's, yeah, this guy's just a Gnostic. He thinks the true god of this world is the cruel, vindictive, evil Yaldabaoth prison keeper, and Sophia is the true wisdom of the universe and kind of the female aspect of the great grand architect of the universe, who is outside of our flesh prison universe, and it's just sickening. It's wrong, and their attitude oozes a level of pride that I just can't cope with. Um, and I need to test myself around people like this, because I really do. My patience wears thin very quickly, and they're a growing group of people, it seems. And it's kind of, they don't want to hear the biblical narrative and history. They want to hear some kind of Gnostic, weird, symbolic, metaphorical interpretation and spin on what it means to be a jester or something. And it's kind of like, no, 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 these are tangible, real entities, not archetypical symbols of the shadow of humanity's collective consciousness, as you would have liked me to go on about. No, they're real, separate entities from us with personalities who have an agenda. Um, the fool archetype isn't evil, as someone said here. Similar thing. So this is what I mean. Another commenter who wants me to talk about. They think they're dealing with aspects of humanity's psyche in the DMT realm. They think they're dealing with themselves when they see a jester. They think it's a reflection of themselves. They don't understand that there's even demons and why they would be there. They don't grasp the concept of disembodied Nephilim. They don't know that. They don't even know that's a possibility. They think anything in these other realms they explore on DMT, for example, it's just their own mind creating symbols to communicate messages to them. That's how lost they are, and you can thank Jung for that. Okay, he was the one who began all of that. And then someone responded, "Ignorance is the worst evil." Yeah. So there you go, guys. A bit of a taste of some of the comments on that video. I'm going to come to the chat now and see what you guys are saying. Um, Sorry, I'm just gonna have a quick drink as well. My throat's getting a bit dry. I think I might be coming down with something. I had a bit of a sore throat this morning. There we go. I'm drinking some kind of chamomile fruit blend tea. And it's okay. It's okay. It's got a bit cold though. Paul used the name Keith. I was just joking. I don't know what it, did you like that one? Yeah. I am also Gnostic. Look around. The world sucks. Where is God? Says Gregory Leon Watson. Well, I'm hoping I can get you to realize that Gnosticism is going to leave you to nowhere but pain and misery and death, mate. Trust me. Um, and like I said, this is Satan's little season. We're in a specific time where things are not going to be great, you know. And Gnosticism is the exact religion Satan will want you to have during this time. That's what he wants. He wants people to believe that we are trapped by an evil, cruel, vindictive God in a prison. Okay? So when Jesus does return with New Jerusalem for the final war, he will have at least those Christians or the Gnostic Christians on his side to think they're fighting against the evil God, okay, of this world, rather than not understanding the nuances of Christ and what that actually means. And the problem is with most Gnostics, because everything's up to interpretation with them, and it's all about how they feel and the gnosis they can channel through their own interpretations of metaphor and symbolism around everything. You can't convince them otherwise. It's kind of because it's all loosey goosey interpretation of how I feel about things. It tends to be, and most Gnostics, as much as they will argue that's not what they're doing, it really is at the end of the day. They create their own God and they create their own gospel through their own gnosis and interpretations of things. And it really is itching ear stuff. It makes them feel good, and it's not the truth, unfortunately. Um, the knowledge alone is not going to save you. Only faith in Christ, and no, Christ is not an aspect of your own consciousness. Okay, it's, no, it's the height of ignorance and pride to even consider that. Um, Most of the gospel is trying to explain to you that you are not a god. There is only one God separate from you that you need to be humble enough to submit yourself to, not go and pursue as much knowledge as you possibly can so you can ascend your consciousness to be like God. That's not what the gospel is, all right? So to call yourself a Gnostic Christian is a bit of an oxymoron as well when I hear people say that. Um, it's not what it is. And I'm not heresy hunting. I'm not saying the murdering of all the Gnostics in the first generations was right necessarily either. I think that was an odd knee-jerk reaction from other zealots of a different type of issue, But it's not what's really going on. You can't make yourself into a wizard to save yourself, which is essentially what you're trying to do, isn't it? You know, through alchemy and all the rest of it, and hermetic thinking, and and as soon as you get into the whole hermeticism stuff, you're just going down Enochian wisdoms, and you're going back into the mystery schools, and you're just going into the antediluvian religions again. It's not new. These things just keep getting recycled with every new reset and generation, every cycle packages it in a new way. And right now, it's the Luciferian aspect of Gnosticism, which is making a revival with the whole Demiurge and Yaldabaoth stuff and Sophia. It needs to stop. I'm sorry, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not the truth, and it's like the communist rhetoric. No matter what I say, the response is always the same. Oh, well, that's not real Gnosticism. You don't know what Gnosticism actually is. You're just an idiot. If you really understood Gnosticism, you would understand it's a good thing. If you do Gnosticism like I do Gnosticism, you'd realize that it's perfect and the best way to be and how we should be. It's kind of because there's so many variations of what it means to be a Gnostic, because it is so up for interpretation and personal to each individual. you can never define it by a Gnostic standards adequately enough for them to accept that you've defined what they believe. You can never do it, so they're always perpetually stuck in their own delusion that nobody understands them but them. They're so deep, and everyone else is an idiot, basically. So it doesn't matter what I say or how I try to describe Gnosticism. I can never convince a Gnostic that it's bollocks. They have to realize it for themselves through their own failures and repeated failures, basically. And they will. They'll get there. I know that because I was there myself. You'll realize it in the end. You'll figure it out, and it comes with a lot of humbling yourself. A lot. And it's we'll see. We'll see. You know, and people come to my channel expecting me to be one of them. Probably because they see my symbol and they think I'm in support of some kind of alchemical principle of dualism, or of as above so below, or something like that. Or they look at it and go, alchemy, yes, yes, this guy gets it. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to expose it for what it truly is. I don't make work in support of what that symbol represents. That thing is a symbol of my channel because it is the conspiracy you need to understand. Understand that symbol and you'll understand what the conspirators believe. It's the subject matter of conspiracy all condensed into that symbol. You need to get to grips with it. So people come to my channel thinking they're going to get Gnostic stuff, but instead they get me talking about the gospel and Christ and how Gnosticism is just a lot of bollocks, and they don't like it. They really don't like it. And I'm not going to stop, unfortunately. But I think a lot of people have also told me, that they've come out of Gnosticism as well, and they appreciate what I've done. So it's a bit of both, and um, I only get it because I was there myself. I came from that world. I understand. Um, Gnosticism grows through Christianity. Rome killed Yeshua, changed his name, then made a religion and wrote the Bible. Wait, what? And where did you get any of that information from? Did you magically channel that through Gnosis in some way? Gnosticism grows through Christianity. Gnosticism is a parasite on Christianity who has hijacked it and twisted it to become its own thing. That's what Gnosticism is. That's all it is. It's nothing special. Okay, they do it to every religion. Every religion has a Gnostic take, has a Gnostic parasite attached to it, pretending to be like it, but just spreading the same bullshit. All of them do, and again, the Sufis of Islam. That's the Gnostic parasite attached to the original doctrine. Okay, it's the same thing. It's just mysticism. It's just occultism, kind of hiding within a culture of a specific religion, and they give themselves the veneer and mask of the religion to stay hidden well enough to not be ousted or destroyed. But what they're actually preaching and teaching is Luciferianism. What they're actually following is the antediluvian religion of alchemy and hermeticism. That's all it is. Every time. Under the skin of the particular culture they're parasitically living within. Okay, and I'm preaching this as though the idea is a parasite, not necessarily the people who are under its influence. Okay, the idea itself is like a consciousness that just infects cultures. In a way, communism is like Gnosticism. It's very similar. The social justice SJW ideology is kind of like a parasitic Gnostic ideal. It's like how they feel is what reality truly is, type of stuff. It doesn't matter where you are or what culture you're in. Gnosticism gets its claws into it and will pretend to be like the culture as a veneer, but underneath it's always the same thing. You will be your own god. Okay, you are God. You are a god. You are in control of your own destiny through knowledge. Okay, that's all it ever is. It's always the same thing, and usually it comes with a denial of a creator god, and a personification of it into oneself. We are all God. We just need to understand our potential type of thinking. It's always the same. Okay, and it's a lie. It's the first lie told in the Garden of Eden by the serpent, in fact. Eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and your eyes will be opened, and you will be as gods. But the issue is, that snake is your god, isn't it? You actually think that snake was trying to free humanity, trying to make us better, trying to make us no longer under the thumb of a cruel, evil god who wants to keep us ignorant and stupid and trapped, right? You listened to the serpent basically and believed his lies. And you think knowledge of good and evil, just knowledge of existence and life and what it means to exist in a fleshly realm, is going to save you in some way. And mastery over it is going to make you a grand wizard, magical man, and therefore you can save yourself or something like that. But it's just a lie. Adam and Eve are already gods. They were already as God, made in the image of God, walking in the Garden of Eden with God. How much better could it have gotten? And the serpent stole the birthright away from them by lying to them, by promising them, you'll be even better if you just break God's law. Just be rebellious and you'll improve. Okay, that's all it is. And people are still believing that lie today. Google Caesar's Messiah, I dare you. You don't need a guru, no. Okay. I never fell for the you are God mindsets as art. I was introspective enough to know that I wasn't perfect, so how could I be a god? Made in his image, sure I can get behind that. Uh, yeah, God, I always end up on a Gnostic rant in these things, but the problem is they just bring the worst people and the most smug people I've ever met in my entire life. Like they are the worst, and I'm because my patience is so thin. I do get a little bit like short with them. And then they use that against you and says, "Ah, who's the smug one now? Who's really got the pride?" You know, and it's kind of like, well, I have to deal with people like you like 50 times a day saying the same old thing over and over again. It's like, I'm only a man. I'm only human. There's only so much I can take. Please, please stop with the Gnosticism. Like, I've heard it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. I used to believe it all myself. No, just stop. I'm a Zen Buddhist, says Gregory here. So was I. I was all about the Tao, man. I was obsessed with that kind of stuff. Like, and for a long time, I thought, oh, Jesus just sounds like a Taoist to me. The Tao is the way, and Jesus preached the way. They're just the same thing, aren't they? And they're not the same thing. Okay, they're not the same thing. Is genuine knowledge that is acquired from your experience also literally called gnosis? I learned how not to overlook fire safety when I set my apartment on fire. Well, do you have to call that gnosis necessarily? Is that not just learning from your mistakes? Like, I don't think you can consider it the same level there, Douglas. But I get what you're saying. I do understand the sentiment behind that. But I think when you start applying that kind of thinking to such profound spiritual philosophical concepts, um, and then say I learnt this through gnosis, like I channeled the knowledge or something like that from a higher consciousness. I do think you can start getting a little bit in the realms of it's dangerous, isn't it? It's dangerous. And that's why we're told to test the spirits. Just because you got a download from on high doesn't mean it was God necessarily telling you the truth. That's kind of the danger behind it all, I think. You should see the villains for the movie Trolls 3, says Rad World. Okay, I'll have a look now. Trolls 3 antagonists. The main antagonist is called Velvet. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, they do look like very tall, thin by comparison to the trolls, pale skinned, red lipped. green-haired clowns, don't they? Adorned in jewels with wings, and yeah, these are quintessential Nephilim creatures. Absolutely. Let me just quickly show you guys this. There we go. These bad boys. Look at that. They got horns and everything. Yeah, these. Yeah, it's in all the things, isn't it? And obviously, they are giants compared to the trolls, aren't they? Yeah, little tidbits like this are always fun. Thanks for sharing that with me. Absolutely. I'm always looking for more Nephilim clown hints in media, and it's kind of all over the place now. It's everywhere. Like they are really just rolling with it. They love this stuff nowadays, and they want the kids idolizing them and dressing like them for Halloween. They really want everyone in on this act of becoming more clown like. Even the trolls themselves, have clown-like aesthetics, bright colours, wild, wacky hair. But obviously these are the smaller kind, aren't they? I never got into trolls. I think it's more of an American thing. We didn't really have something like this in Britain. It didn't get so big. But look at the angelic wing effect on this antagonist as well, with the shoulder pads and the stuff coming down. Interesting. What are they, musicians, singers, or something? Are they pop stars, something like that? I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? I'm gonna get rid of that. Yeah, but thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. So another two videos I did today was Tucker. Talks about Tucker Carlson. This is another one. Like I said, it got demonetized briefly because I used a clip of Tucker speaking with Joe Rogan about the aliens again. And the overall take I got from the comments on this one is that people generally are very untrustworthy of Tucker, but they do find him entertaining at the very least. And some people think he's actually a good guy, and he can only say so much, so there's that as well. Um, as some people say, he's a CIA operative shill. His father was in the CIA. He's just completely full of it, and obviously has his Kabbalah wristband and all that type of thing. I've heard it all really, and I feel like perhaps he is probably not to be trusted. It's soft disclosure stuff, isn't it? They give us our heroes. They choose who gets to say the thing, and then they control the narrative by that person they put out there in front of the public. So you've got to be careful. Um, I think, like I said, in light of the Millennial Kingdom coming and past theory, of course he's going to be allowed to introduce the concept of aliens to us, and people think he's revealing some grand truth when what he's actually doing is exactly what needs to be done. He needs people to believe something's about to turn up in the sky, aliens of some kind, perhaps a threat that we can't control. Ooh. Now he connected it to the spiritual concept of these things are biblical in nature. They are interdimensional, not from space. They are spiritual, as he calls them, not from space. Which is interesting that he's angling that way. They're now going for the interdimensional invasion route rather than the space invasion route. Are they twisting the alien narrative now to be more interdimensional? That's closer to the truth, you know. Um, but who knows? I mean, even I don't know the true nature of UFOs. Are they of the enemy? Are they of Satan and his legions, or are they of angels? Are they of God and his army? Um, are they a product of New Jerusalem technology, of the beloved city and the floating city of Jesus, or are they a counterfeit or are they of the enemy in some way? Is this how angels used to fight each other in heaven? Like, I don't know. It's really complicated. I don't think we have these answers, but I think we do need to always be weary when we have figureheads like this talking about these subjects. We need to be very careful. But yeah, guys, I've been going for quite a while now, so I think I just have a couple of more comments. Let me just get the comments up for this one. Because I did another one as well today, which is just yesterday, called Say It Out Loud. And people seem to really like this piece of advice, and I think this is a very important one for truthers to have. It's not something I want to just ignore and not talk about as often, because I was surprised by the response to this particular video. People seem to really, really, really appreciate that I had said to them these things. Because I think people really forget sometimes that they need to speak about what they think and feel out loud. Okay, but not everybody does have a person they can do that to, like a human, you know. Um, Not everybody's families are so open to listen to such things. Not many people have the friends necessarily that would listen to these things, or partners or loved ones. So they can become quite isolating to the point where they are just stuck in their own thoughts for so long. And when it comes to actually, saying these things, they don't really know how to say it. And it ends up coming out terribly, and they look even worse to these people that they're already scared enough to talk about their thoughts about too. So I always thought saying these things out loud is good practice for when you need to say it to a person in reality, and try and convince them of what's going on. But not only that as well, I think saying things out loud helps you formulate what you actually believe, and the comments were really, really responsive to this. And yeah, I really appreciate a lot of the comments. So one person said, "So true. I'm able to better reason things out when I'm saying them out loud. Thanks for another great video, Paul." Someone else said, um, "Talking with truthers who don't believe in the Bible has resulted in spiraling me into panic attacks because it seems to be a fundamental basis for explaining the why, if not the how, behind pre-planned orchestral psyop tragedies like Blank 11 and that are too complex for any one person to understand. I thank God dearly for the Bible because if it weren't for scriptures, we'd all be completely lost." Yeah, I get that sentiment. Not there's a lot of truthers out there who are not don't have a Christian basis to contextualize what's going on. I made a lot of videos in the past, a lot of my early work. I don't know if you've seen these, and maybe I'll direct you to it while I'm at it now. So if I go to my content here, let's go really far back in time. I'm talking like 7, 8 years ago now, maybe 9 years ago since I made this video. I'm not sure, but let me just go all the way back. Click, click, click. I've got 300 videos to get through here. I found it. So I have this video. Um, I'll share the screen with you. This is my YouTube studio here. Yeah, so I've got this video, which is called "This is what the Truth Movement looks like," and this was made years ago, like a long time ago. Let's just go into it quickly here. Like, how long ago was this? 6 years ago. So it's a buried video. Go back in time and look at this. I think it's still just as valid as it is today. If I put this quality up here, you can see I had this whiteboard where I basically wrote down and tried to visualize the entire conspiracy and all the factions within it. And you have basically here the monotheistic Christian side versus the pantheistic New Age truther on the other side. Okay. And then if I can move it along, get a better view of the whole thing. Um, in the middle, you've got like the whistleblower types, and these are just people who have just cropped up and said a particular truth of the industry they're involved in. Um, Usually look something like this, and they usually have something information to share. So they're not really a member of the truth community exactly, but they are people who crop up every now and then and just do an interview somewhere or say something or coming out of a company or a particular faction or something like that. So they're like a good part of it, and a lot of the surrounding groups base a lot of their opinions or their theories on what these middle people say. And then it's funny because at the top you've got the religious conspiracy theorists, you got the Christians and the New Ages, but on the bottom you have more of um the others. You've got the leftist progressive mainstream conspiracy theorists. They're like the anonymous and the we are the 99% people, you know what I mean? The fighting against the man people, expect us, all that type of stuff. And then you have the red pilled alt media who are trolling all the time and saying, the West is the best. It's all about making money, and why you mad with Pepe the Frog in the background there. You know what I mean? And they are usually the foil for the leftist liberals, and they're always talking about snowflakes and all these type of things. And this is like your mainstream false dichotomy of the truth. People who follow these groups think they are truthers. They think they're exposing or fighting against the evil other. You know what I mean? In one another. And this is all just a bullshit left right paradigm they need to break out of. And then you have the straight up trolls and disinfo agents right in the middle of them who are just out there for chaos. You know what I mean? So there's this truth movement on the bottom, and then there's the other truth of culture on the top, which is the Christians and the New Agers having a battle as well about what is truth at the top as well. So fundamentally, the truth movement is a divided mess of about 4 to 5 or 6 different factions, all kind of competing with each other for dominance over people's attention. It's kind of sad, really. But if you watch this video, I break it all down for you there quite simply, and this is what it looks like to an outsider. And I wish it wasn't like this, but this is it. So go and check out this video if you haven't already. This is what the truth movement looks like. I think it's in my playlist called Exposing the Occult. If you're wondering, yep, that's the playlist it's in, Exposing the Occult. Go find that on my channel and watch that video, and let me know what you think. It's an interesting one, to say the least. It's very interesting. But yeah, old video, very old video, but a good one. I drew it all myself. They're all my drawings and my sketches. I don't think I even have this whiteboard anymore. I don't even live where this was done anymore. This is, yeah, very old, but a fun one. Right, what's going on in the chat, guys? Before I quickly leave here, let me just change this back to there. But yeah, say things out loud. The comments for this one were very, very responsive. I didn't really get any negative ones whatsoever, and people really appreciated the advice. So thanks for everybody who commented on this video as well. I really like that. I'm running out of time really to talk about any more comments, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's a bit of an experiment, something different. I've never really done a show like this before. Just going through comments. I could probably improve the format as time goes on, find better ways of showing the comments as I'm reading them. Maybe prepare a few of the best comments first, blank out the names, things like that. And I know I can do better, and I'll try my best to better prep for these shows in the future. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate you coming along to listen to me talk about these things. And I'm gonna have to get going now. It's quite late. My voice is going. But guys, thanks for listening today. If you like what I do, consider joining Patreon. $5 a month will get you access to everything on there. That's the minimum threshold. Loads of extra stuff, extra after show conversations on there with podcasters and other truthers. Also, some snippets of the book, some stuff that isn't quite released onto YouTube yet as well. So give it a go if you haven't already. That's the best way to support me outside of YouTube. I really appreciate all the members I do have as well. Thanks for joining, guys. This is what feeds me and my family at the end of the day. So thank you, and please consider it, guys. There you go. Links down below to all that kind of stuff. The book is well on the way. I think it is going to be published in June, at the start of June, the first book. You can always go to GoFundMe and support me there if you do want to help out with the costs for publishing. That is appreciated too. Links all down below. Update, I've had a haircut. It doesn't look too great right now because I've just been running my hands through it, but the mop is gone. I think I need to shave the beard down to match, to be honest. But yeah, I've had a haircut in preparations for the holiday. Just thought I'd share that with you before I go as well. But other than that, guys, thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.